Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Golf Podcast. This is episode number 279. And our main topic, which we're going to dive into in a minute, we're going to try to settle a debate, Mike.
Okay.
The great line versus pace debate when it comes to putting. Which is truly more important? Is it the line you take or the pace of the putt? So we're going to dive into that. We're going to dissect it a little bit. We're also going to give you guys some updates on some big stuff we've got going on, including the Golficity Virtual Open, which is now over 500 people registered for the event. It makes it our biggest ever. Our biggest
That's awesome. It is our
Virtual
biggest
Open,
ever,
which is terrific, and we've achieved that goal, and I think it's just going to keep growing. We've got a lot of other stuff to talk about. Mike, before we do that, what do you say we do a quick thanks for our sponsors this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're heading up to Manchester Lane in Massachusetts to work with the team at Titleist. We're going to create some fun content for you guys at the end of this month, and one of the things that we're going to do up there is on the topic of groove wear on your wedges and the importance of fresh grooves. I'm excited for this because one of the top questions asked about wedges is how do I spin like a tour player? You know, we all want like that spin back on the green. We love that. We crave it.
Right.
So the first step is you got to treat the equipment like a tour player, and that means you got to have the right golf ball and you got to have fresh grooves. So visit Vokey.com, see the spin research that Bob Vokey and his team has conducted to better understand how grooves wear over time. And, you know, after 75 to 100 rounds of golf, I mean, honestly, you owe it to yourself to test your grooves and make sure you're still getting that maximum spin from your wedges because, you know, whatever handicap you are, you know, this could lead to a couple of strokes, if not more. So it's important for all handicaps. Check it out. Find a fitter. Vokey.com. Take it for a spin test.
Yeah, Mike, that's one I'm personally cannot wait for. I'm looking forward to get educated on it myself and just see what they have to show, the science behind it. It's going to be really interesting.
Can't wait.
The other sponsor we want to thank this week is ShotScope. Guys, it's been close to a year now that we've been using the ShotScope V2 for that GPS on course, but also that stat tracking. I got mine right here. In fact, Mike, it's kind of funny. I don't know how to play around without this anymore because I feel like I come home and I don't have my stats and I'm like itching, like, you know, so it's great. You got everything. You got all those stats while you're out there playing. It's all hands off. For those of you who are new to the show though, and haven't heard us talk about it, the V2 is the world's smartest golf watch. It's got roughly 40,000 courses. It tracks hundreds of stats. As I said, all hands off, nothing special you have to do on the course. It happens in the background. The magic just happens. And when you get home, you get to go through all your different stats. And so it helps you both on and off the course. So guys, join the revolution, join the Golficity Leaderboard, by the way, which you can do by it's free. Once you get your ShotScope, you can go on and join the leaderboard. Get yourself a ShotScope V2 for a ridiculous price, $159. All you got to do is go to shotscope.com/Golficity to claim that deal. I'm telling you what, guys, it is worth every penny, and we love it. You hear us talk about it week in and week out. All right, so jumping into a couple different things. The first thing, Mike, how about this? The Golficity Virtual Open. I always have fun doing this every year. For anybody who is, maybe this is your first time listening to the show, the Virtual Open is exactly that. It's a virtual tournament that we host. You play real golf, but you get to play on your home course or whatever course you like. You know, there's courses all over the world. The idea being we always want to find ways for us to get together, but we know that our listeners are spread out all over the world, all over the country. So it's hard to have these events, but this is a way that we can all participate. We can all enjoy a tournament together. We've got live leaderboards. It's all just a ton of fun. And in the past, we've had a lot of people who've, requested we keep doing this, and we're happy to bring it back year after year. And it really is a lot of fun. I'm going to take a quick look right now. I'm just actually logging into it right now. I want to see what the exact count is.
Can I guess? I haven't looked.
Yes, you can guess. I'm pulling it up right now.
I'm going to say 502.
We are, no, it dipped. I got 489. Maybe my thing isn't updated. I'll let that thing up.
Come on.
No, look, come on. Don't give me that. All right, whatever. By the time this podcast is out, we'll be over 5.
We're gonna have 5.
I've got 489 right now, but that could also, mine could have not updated.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Okay, so here's the thing. You guys got to check it out. Go to golficity.com/open. That is actually going to be kicking off on July 15th. So in 5 days from right now, as of when we're recording this show, You and I are going to play our virtual open round at Woodlock Pines next week, which I'm really excited about. Can't wait to get on those leaderboards. And we're going to be digesting and dissecting that on the podcast next week. But you still got time to get in. It's 100% free. Just go to that, get registered, get in and get ready to play. And you've got an entire month. You've got till August 15th to play your round. And we've also got some incredible door prizes. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about this, and I'm excited to play our round.
Yeah, my favorite part is checking on the leaderboards and watching yourself move up and down.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. I mean, everybody likes to see where they finish on a leaderboard. Even when we played the Ironman, how everyone was huddled around the main leaderboard at the end of the night, because you're curious. You want to see how you finish. You want to have some bragging rights. This is what that is all about. So I love it every year, man.
And we will have gross and net leaderboards. So don't worry if you're brand new to the game, like brand new, because we do. We've got a couple, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking a couple DMs we got this week are people who are just saying like they just picked up the game like last month. And we even structured the event this year to make sure everyone could be included. So we're using a new type of handicap system, at least new to us, that 18 Birdies had put us onto. They had run a virtual tournament of their own, and they had some success with it. So they put us onto this Peoria, maybe I'm not saying that right, Pretoria system. Whatever it is, the good news is, even if you don't have a handicap, it's going to calculate your handicap live based on that round. Because in the past, we did have a lot of people who had kind of reached out and said, what do I do? Because in the past, we had you manually enter your handicap. Right. And some people said, what do I do if I don't have a handicap? What if I don't have an official handicap? So we're just always looking to simplify it. And that's one way we've simplified this one. So check it out. And we're going to be chatting about it in the Golficity Facebook group, for the next month or so. I'm looking forward to seeing those rounds as they start to roll in. Speaking of which, too, you and I, Mike, we did our 2-man scramble video recently. Yes. That actually just dropped. We're not going to give it away because if you guys haven't seen it yet, I don't want to be that guy who spoils it. But here's the cool part. We did a special giveaway to go along with this particular video. We wanted to see how low we could go. After our worst ball video, we were done punishing ourselves. And we've always joked and said we would probably make a good scramble team because there's spots where my game is hurting a little bit and you pick it up, and spots where your game is hurting a little bit and I pick it up. We always kind of like alternate in that way. So we said, well, maybe if we can combine our efforts, we could play really well. So we went out there, went out to Ballione, we played, and basically the details were like this. ShotScope, who's one of the sponsors of this podcast, was sponsoring that video, which we always appreciate their support. So we poked them and we said, I'll tell you what, guys, would you be willing, because they're always really cool and really generous with the giveaways. And we said, would you guys be willing to give away a ShotScope for every score we come in under par on our 18 holes when we shoot this together? And maybe they weren't that nervous because they played with us a lot in Scotland.
Yeah, well, I made the joke. I said, I even put it like in parentheses. I said, don't worry, we're 12 handicaps. Just like it's probably not going to be many guys.
Right.
And he got that.
But he did. And Gavin, who's our buddy over there, he shot back. It was very funny. He said, I'll tell you what, he goes, I want you guys to get aggressive. So not only will we do that, we'll also kick in an extra one for every eagle and for every hole out. And so that was it, man. The stakes were on. We knew our mission and we went out and we went after it.
Yep.
So let's just say we've got a handful of shot scopes to give away. I'm not going to give you the final number, but we're looking forward to it. We love the giveaways. That's always one thing that we've always had fun with is giving back as much as we possibly can. And this is a great way. We had some fun with it. So check out the video. You'll see it. And in the description of the video, you'll see a link there to enter the giveaway because these are going to be fun to give away for sure.
I just want to give one more teaser. Frank gives, he makes some magic.
Magic did happen.
One of the holes. Let's just put it that way. So you got to check it out.
I've rewatched the video about 10 times, and it is funny that the one thing that I remember you saying is when that does happen, the magic, you're like, came in right under the wire because it was late in the game.
It was late.
So stick around for that whole video because some stuff went down. So that was a lot of fun. But here's another thing we talked about last week. We talked about the Ironman of golf. right? Which was a couple different formats that we played. We played worst ball together. We played best ball together. And I'm finding that not only are these things fun to go out and do, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about my game. I'm learning a lot about the game and how to play a little bit better. And I thought back about this, and Mike, you've got brothers. I've got 3 brothers. When we were younger, man, we were always outside and we were always challenging each other to different things. Of
course.
You know, whether it be horse, playing basketball, whatever it was always a challenge. And so I think that's like deep in my DNA now. I just love it. It's just fun to go out and just challenge yourself and do different things and mix it up. But one thing that I found was that as I talk to more and more people who are playing this game and have become quite good at this game, and a lot of the people that we run into on a day-to-day basis, I often will ask them the same question of kind of, how did you get to this point? Like, how did you learn the game? Because we all approach it differently. And what I found is some of the most terrific golfers out there are people who had a lot of fun with the game, especially when they were first learning it, getting creative and trying to challenge themselves in weird ways, like trying to hit like crazy shots on the range, like trying to bend the ball in all these different directions and just kind of seeing what your limits are. Right. And I found that this is kind of its own little breed of that in a way, because when we went out and played things like best ball and worst ball, it forced me to hit shots I wouldn't normally hit. Even in best ball, there might be times when, let's say, you've got a really great shot and I could do something I wouldn't normally do, like get super aggressive, like go pin seeking, whereas normally I would just go for my green and regulation. You know, or worst ball, when we were in these situations that, you know, I'm not used to, like in a certain spot, like that I have to hit a punch shot that I wouldn't normally hit or whatever it may be. I found that by pushing myself out of this comfort zone, all of a sudden I was learning to hit shots that I could then apply to my regular stroke play game.
That makes sense.
And you take it from there. So that was something cool. And I wanted to relay it here because I think a lot of us, we kind of go on this like autopilot with our game where we feel like we're never getting any better. We're never getting any worse. And we go out and we play the game the same way all the time. You know, you play the same course, you play it the same way, you play the same stroke play or match play with your buddies. And I think sometimes it's nice to like spice it up, change it up a little bit, do something, challenge yourself, take a club or 2 out of your bag and challenge yourself to play that way. You know, we've done the 3 club challenge. We'll probably do a 1 club challenge at some point, you know?
have to think.
So it's just like, when you do that, it gives you this fresh perspective. It makes it fun, but you definitely learn something.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like your golf game has improved in the last month?
Definitely. 100.
Correct. I totally agree, right? Don't you just feel really good about it right now?
I really do. In fact, I've got some cool thing to report. My handicap for the first time in a while is trending down, trending to an 11-1.
Okay.
Which, and a big part of that is I've been shooting some of my best rounds. I shot 80-80 at Ironman for those last 2 rounds, which is a great score for me. You know, and I think I attribute a huge part of it to this, like playing more. You know, we played a lot in Scotland, playing under these different conditions, playing different types of golf. I learned, that's another thing, breaking out of your comfort zone. I learned a lot playing in Scotland because we had to play a different type of golf.
Yep.
You know, the wind, the links, you know, it forces you to learn different types of shots. So all that I think is making me a better golfer. So I guess what I'm saying is, although it may be challenging and difficult at the time, it makes you a better golfer for it. So challenge yourself. If you find yourself in this rut, you're doing the same thing over and over, find some creative way to step outside of it and challenge yourself.
Dude, I couldn't agree anymore. And I want to tell you right now, I got another fun one lined up for us coming up. I think you and I need to get out there and try alternate shot.
Yeah. And that's something I've never done. Have you done that?
I have never done that. And I think that could be a lot of fun. And that's completely different. And that's kind of, in a way, it's kind of combining both best ball and worst ball because you got to hit it no matter what happens.
Yeah.
So
you do. And look, that's another aspect of the game I love. I absolutely love the part of this game where it's an individual sport. I think there's, you can do a whole podcast on the countless things that make that great. However, again, I enjoy team sports. You know, I grew up playing more team sports than not. You know, I played baseball, I played football. You did too. So there's an aspect of that that's fun too, going out there and working as a team and strategizing. And that too, I learned something. You know, a lot of the stuff with you where we would be out there and we would be coordinating like a shot or helping each other out and scramble, I get to see a little bit of an insight of how you think through a shot.
Yes.
You know, and that's great because I pick up new things that I may have not have thought through. And I'm like, you know, I'm learning from your strategy, not only just the execution.
Yeah, I like that.
So there's just so much stuff about it that I think can really benefit you as a golfer. So anyway, that stuff is, like I said, it's important. So I wanted to get it out here. Hopefully you guys enjoy the videos. Hopefully you guys enjoy watching some of this where we've done, like I said, the Ironman will be out shortly after this podcast comes out, and best ball, you know, scramble, 2-man scramble. And then our quote, worst ball that we played, which was kind of like a worst scramble, I guess.
Worst scramble.
Yeah. Like a terrible scramble.
Scramble gone bad.
Scrambled eggs. I don't know. Yeah, that was something. So if you guys haven't checked those out, definitely check them out. All right, I want to talk about line versus pace, and this portion of tonight's show is sponsored by Footjoy. With more than 60% of global tour players choosing Footjoy shoes, they continue to be the overwhelming leader in golf footwear. Think about that for a second. More than half of the tour players around the world wear Footjoy shoes, whether it's the Pro SL, which is the hottest shoe in golf. I love it. I've got 2 pairs that I alternate through in the Pro SLs, or, you know, the power, precision, comfort of the Tour S, the timeless style of the FJ Icon, the Icon Black, Dry Joy's Tour, which, by the way, a little interesting thing about me, my very first ever pair of golf shoes were Footjoy Dry Joys that my uncle got me for my birthday because he got a great discount because he was like consulting. He was like an accountant and he was consulting for like Footjoy or something.
That's great.
And I was like, great. And I put those things through the work. But anyway, you know, there's a number of other shoes. Footjoy offers a shoe for every player. And joining that lineup in 2019 is the FJ Fury. Mike, I know that's your go-to. I love them too. It's designed from the inside out for stability where you need it and comfort where you want it. And it really can keep your feet nice and dry. You know, the other day we played in the rain, you know, and we were bone dry.
It was amazing.
Shoes
are bone dry. Great.
That's it. So trust your game to Footjoy, the #1 shoe in golf. Shop now at footjoy.com. Okay, let's talk about line versus pace. And I think these are two things.
Like chicken or the egg type thing.
It's kind of like a chicken or the egg situation.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny because in a way, we're going to get to it does matter. In a way, it doesn't. It's kind of like, it almost seems like it's a cop-out, but the reality is they're both incredibly important. But we're going to talk in a minute about different times when one may be more important than the other. But it's often a debate. People say, what do I focus more on, the line or the pace? We've done individual podcasts pretty much on both. We've done podcasts talking about different ways to read the break. We've done podcasts on getting your speed dialed in. We've worked with people like Kevin Sprecher on doing putting lessons, and it all kind of obviously works together, which, by the way, one thing that's been translating better in my scores, my putting has been improved. A big part of that has been my speed control has been much better since working with Sprecher, because he taught me a little something that I got a little bit more stability in my stroke, and I can rely on it. There's less variables, so my speed is a little bit better. But it's funny, and I think, again, as I play the game more and more, I realize how important putting is. I look at my good rounds, my bad rounds, especially now having my stats, you know, from ShotScope, and I'll look at them and I'll be like, wow, I'll realize the correlation is incredible of a good round. Often it's great, you know, you have good putting. It's rare that you play a really great round and you putt terrible. And you see the same thing on the PGA Tour. It's like the guy who wins on Sunday is somebody, you know, the guy who is usually leading the field in strokes gained putting that week. You know, it is really that important. I actually saw an infographic the other day. I think it was from ShotScope, actually, where they were breaking down the percentage of your swing, of your score based on each club. And they showed right there that your putter makes up for 40+% of your total score. So all those reasons, I mean, I don't have to sell you guys on it. You guys understand and you know how important putting is. So I think things like this, exercises, mental exercises where we kind of break down different parts of it, are good because it gets you thinking about it in new and different ways. And all golfers are different. Sometimes you get somebody who favors one over the other as a point of focus. It might be, pace. It might be line. Inevitably, there's going to be that debate. And sometimes here's the thing, they work so hand in hand. You know, if you get one right and the other wrong, it really doesn't matter. The ball is not going to go in the hole. You really got to get both right, but there is variables to that. And they both do matter. And it should be obvious, you know, to more experienced players who might be listening out there, why they're both important, but it's also, like I said, it's worth diving into and dissecting a little bit just so we get that mental practice of just going through it. And if you take an example, you picture a 10-foot putt that's going to break a few inches from right to left. You know, you make your read, you settle in on that line, you decide how hard you want to hit the ball. As the ball leaves the putter face, it rolls precisely on that line you selected. That's a great start, but it's not in the hole yet. If you hit it too firmly, it won't take as much break as expected. You're going to end up missing high. If you hit it too soft, it'll take a little bit more break than you planned. You're going to miss low. So it's only when you get that line and speed, that pace and, line and pace correct, that you're going to end up holing that, you know, assuming your read is correct. So not only on breaking putts, it's an issue, but, you know, picture another 10-footer, you know, and this time it's perfectly flat. You aim right at the hole. You get, you know, you're getting the line right. Well, you know, it'll be a matter of nothing more than executing mechanics. You know, it's perfectly flat, straight. And while your speed control doesn't need to be quite as precise in the situation, there's no break to consider. So you'll need to somewhat, you know, be somewhat close on the pace in order to make that putt. So that was an example where pace is obviously more important. But if you leave the putt short, you know, it can't go in. If you hammer it, you got that dreaded possible 3-putt. So obviously, as we're painting this picture here, you're going to see that they're both important. I'm trying to picture this real quick.
All right, I'm going to interrupt you because let's take an example. Your putt on 10 during our best ball video for Eagle. That was that line was perfect, but the pace was too hard. That's why it hit the back of the cup and popped out.
100%. Correct? Yeah. It was too hard. Yep.
And on the flip side of that, I'm trying to think of when it would be an opposite situation. So all those times where you hit a great long lag putt to about 2 inches and everyone around you says, great speed or something, you know, that means you've had your pace right. You had your line wrong.
Yes. And obviously line becomes a lot more difficult the further you go out, you know, because you can be off by 1 degree. It's going to translate to a larger, you know, distance.
Of course. Right.
But the idea is, and that we're trying to paint here, is that they both have to be good if you're going to be dropping putts. So that you just can't neglect one or the other. But here's the other thing. It also varies, as I think anything we talk about, it varies based on the individual golfer, because there's not one exact pace and line that are going to be the only, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's not going to be only one option to hole a putt. Example of this now, you're seeing this on the PGA Tour. It's really cool. That graphic that they overlay before a player putts. Have you seen this? There's the 2 lines, the straight line and the dotted line.
Yes, love it.
Okay, so right there is a perfect visualization how there's multiple ways of making this putt. One is with a quicker pace. One is with and one is with a slower pace. The quicker pace obviously has less of a break to it than the slower pace putt. Slower pace putt has more of a break in it. And that's that's one thing that's so important to understand. When you putt, the faster the speed, the more you're going to take the break out of it. You've heard us say things like powering through the break or whatever it may be. Now, obviously, you can power it too much, as per the example you just said, where even though it was online, I hit so much, it hit the back of the cup and popped up and out, and I missed the putt. So there's no way that you can just always just smash it, you know? But the fact is, there's going to be different variables, and each golfer is going to have a different putting personality. You're going to get some golfers who are a little bit more aggressive with their putts. They're okay with running them a couple feet past. They don't like to leave things short. And what they'll end up doing is they'll put more pace on a putt and take a little bit of that break out. Then you have some other golfers who are, you know, they're not worried about leaving something a little bit short, and they are more confident with trying to get that pace just perfect and not trying to blow past the hole. And then they'll read a little bit more into the putt. And that's where too, you got to kind of, again, we always talk about here on the show, we talk about like having that self-awareness, like knowing a little bit about yourself. And that'll help you if you start to realize like, what kind of putter am I? Am I the kind of the guy who's just a little bit more aggressive, goes after it, tends to put a little bit more pace on the ball, or am I the type of person who goes, really reads into the break, lets the break do the work, aim high on a left to right sloping and just try to let it break down into the cup? Which one are you? And as you get to know yourself, you're taking other variables out. You're not alternating between one or the other. You just kind of know your way of attacking the cup.
Well, that's a great way that you put it. And I know for a fact, I think most golfers of our level in our handicap range, guys who've been playing for a little while, know what kind of putter there are, like you just described. Like I know I'm more of a delicate putter. I don't have as much confidence in those 3 footers coming back. So I like to have that finesse and try to get the ball as close to the hole. If it doesn't go in, fine. I'm fine. I'm fine with the tap in.
Yeah.
That's the kind of putter I am. But for me, back on your example of the PGA Tour, when you have the straight line and kind of the bendy line,
yep.
right?
Yep.
I don't see where the risk reward is on taking a straight line because
it's never a truly straight line unless there's no break. If you look, and when they show that graphic,
true.
There's one has less break than the other. The one that has less break is going to be the one where they're putting a little bit more pace on it.
Okay, so even with that one, I mean, where's the reward there for taking some of the break out of it? Because I guess, like you said, if they're comfortable with going a few feet past the hole, then I guess that's what they're going for.
Well, that's just it. I mean, it's not necessarily that there's a reward as there is. I think the better way to think of it is, like I said, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Okay.
You're in other words, there's no one set answer for what the correct pace is or what the correct line is. They're forever intertwined, is what we're trying to say. There's going to be one line for one pace and one line for another pace. So you've got to really read them both together. I think that's what we're really driving at here. You've got to, and this is where it's that kind of that cop out of saying one is not more important than the other, because we're saying both have to be read together and they have to work hand in hand. If they don't work hand in hand, like for instance, if you take the line that needs a quicker pace and you put a slower pace on it, you're going to fall short and probably below the hole. Right. If you take the line for the slower pace and you put a little bit more speed on it, you're going to probably power through that break and you're going to end up long, probably on the high side, so to speak, depending on which way the putt breaks. But you get what I mean.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
It's where knowing your style as a putter is a very valuable bit of information. And also, this is where it can be hard sometimes to get your reads from other people, because someone else may see more pace, more break in a putt, because in their mind, they put a little bit less pace on it than you do. In this particular example, it might be vice versa, maybe whatever. That's also why you'll also often hear when you're with a good caddy, they'll say, well, it depends on the pace. And a good caddy too will get to know your style and start to give you lines based on that. So they may be like, and they'll show, and oftentimes they'll show, I want you to put the ball like here, and they'll show a spot that's a little bit short of the hole because they're trying to show you the pace on it. Or I've worked with caddies before where they'll show you too. They'll be like, well, what kind of pace? Depends on the type of pace you want to put on it. If you want to put a little bit more pace on it, they're like, I would aim here. If you want to take a little bit off of it, I'd aim up higher here. And they'll give you 2 alternates because again, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Right. Got it.
Right.
Makes more sense now.
Yeah. So that's where we want to drive that point home, that they work together and you don't understand them. Now, that said, let's go back to the great debate here. We've established that they're both important when you're trying to make putts, but there is, to a certain degree, playing favorites. There is areas where one may be more important than the other. And where that comes in is is definitely the length of the putt. So, it'd be great if you could always treat them as equals, but in the real world, it's likely you're going to have to favor one over the other, at least slightly. So here's where it's good to have a good plan. As a general rule of thumb, you're going to favor pace on long putts and line on shorter putts. So let's say you're 30, 40, 50 feet from the hole or beyond. Your main concern should be getting the speed right. And that's exactly what you said earlier, Mike. You're very focused on getting the speed right. And that shows. I mean, we've seen you not only make some very long putts out there, but leave some very long putts close. Because in that case, you're hyper focused. And oftentimes it's like, yeah, from that distance, if you hole it, great. but your real aim is just getting it close enough for a tap in. So in those cases, you're definitely, in this debate anyway, you're definitely favoring pace over line. Your main, like maybe 70% of your thought process is speed and 30% is break in that situation. Right. So there, even if you do miss it a little bit in either direction, you kind of know your make percentage from that distance is not super high. You're not super concerned with that. You just want to make sure you're in there tight that you can walk up and tap it in.
Right.
The other side of the story is, let's say you're really close, like 5 feet or something like that. That's where you're going to put a little bit more time into making sure the break, what your break is. And you'll even see that again if you're working with a caddy, a really long putt. They'll give you a basic line for those long putts, but they'll be talking more about speed. They'll be talking about, is it uphill? Is it downhill? Is it into the wind? Is it with the wind? These are the types of things you'll be looking at. When you get close, it's going to be a lot more looking at that break. Also, because of the science behind it. I mean, a ball that's traveling, here's where we're going to get into our Bryson phase.
Here we go.
A ball that's traveling slower is going to be more affected by the break than a ball that's traveling quicker. So a longer putt is going to be traveling faster along the majority of that distance than a shorter putt. A shorter putt is going to be rolling slower throughout a large percentage of that putt. So that it's going to be more affected by the break throughout the entire line. A longer putt, there's going to be a significant portion where it's just going to be kind of powering along so quickly. It's not going to be affected much by a break, especially a subtle break. Right. So that's where it's just going to kind of move forward. There's also, we've talked about this on the podcast before, why it's important when you read a putt to, especially a long putt, put more of an emphasis on reading the break closer to the hole than further away. Further away, even if there's a significant break, chances are you're going to power right through it. But, shifting that focus when you get closer to the hole, you're going to think a little bit more of line. You need to get the speed right, but it's not as technically hard to get the speed right on a 5 foot putt than it is on a 50-foot putt. You've got a very much better chance of getting the speed right. We're not on a 5 foot putt. In other words, we're not worried about, unless you're doing something tragically wrong. We're not worried, or it's a dramatic sloping green. You're not worried about blowing it 5 feet past the hole, right?
Right.
From a 5 foot putt, you pretty much know you shouldn't 3-putt from there. It's going to be a tap into your focus there is making the putt. So that's where you're gonna not be as concerned with speed, but you're going to be concerned with speed as it relates to pace, which we talked about a second ago. And for that reason, on a 50-foot putt, a little bit different. So you select that line, you keep your head still during the stroke, do whatever you can. The stuff we talk about, the mechanics, get that ball rolling on target. And in the end, you're going to need to match that line and pace up really well on a shorter putt. But it's, as long as you give both of them the proper respect, and the debate, you understand the debate can vary based on the putt itself. And I think if you use that general rule of thumb, that pace is going to be a little bit more important on the long putts and line is going to be a little bit more important on the short putts, but in the same token, neither could survive without the other. If you can get that mindset down, you'll be a smarter putter for it effectively.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now that you broke it out all like that, it makes sense.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't know where this one was going to go. I saw line versus pace and I was like, oh, come on.
Well, that's just it. I mean, like I said, that's why I think even seemingly some of the most fundamental topics, I think sometimes we take them for granted. We're so used to doing it that I think sometimes just that little mental exercise of just going back through it and rethinking about it, or even just talking it through, just can kind of help. And who knows, maybe it'll help you on something next time. Maybe the next time you have a long putt, you'll put 70% of your attention towards pace and 30% towards the line. Whereas in the past you did something like 50-50 or something, and something that helps you. But again, I think conceptualizing is like half the battle. And then you just go out and execute. You get that plan. And that's, I think, where confidence comes in. The better you feel like your plan is thought through, the more confident you're going to be in your plan. And if you're confident in your plan, your execution follows. At least that's what it does for me.
I love it, dude. All right, guys, hit the putting green this weekend.
Hit it hard. I've seen it in all areas of the sport. Man, how many times some of your worst shots out there are because you weren't confident in the club you had. Like it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
You didn't think it was enough, or you thought it was too much, or the wind was in your head or something like that. When you're not confident in your strategy, your execution kind of goes out the window. So if the same thing happens with putting, like when you're really confident, and that's like when like Jordan Spieth, like somebody, I remember at some point someone asked him like, what's it like when your putting is on fire? And he's just like, well, it just, the hole looks like it's the size of a beach ball or whatever he said, because it's true. Cause like you get to the point where you're just confident in what you're doing. You feel good about it, and your plan is on, and you just go out and execute it. And your body just executes better on a plan that you're confident in. So.
Dude, I'm confident in your game right now. I think you're on to great things right now. I feel like you're going to be back on the fish and chips tour really soon,
chips, man.
Because you're putting great. You almost broke 80 twice back-to-back rounds on a day where you played.
And of all things, we're talking about putting. I missed shooting 79 on both of those by three putting. The final hole of both rounds.
So there you go. 2-3 putts kept you away from 80.
Now you know why I want to talk so much about putting. I want to get this right. Yeah, it's all about, like I said, it's getting out there. But this is also, talk about things that correlate. This is my first season in a while that I can remember playing this much golf.
Yeah, it's been helpful. I could tell.
I played more rounds this year so far. We're halfway through the year than I played all of last year.
I think to take that a step further, I think you might have played more golf in June than you did
all of last year. Right.
All right. So. But it does show. It definitely shows, because the consistency is there. I could see you're improving. I know you could see me improving. I mean, we're right there, right next to each other.
100%. I shot 80. You shot 81.
At 81. So we're showing each other that we're improving, and I feel it confidence-wise. It's through the roof. Can't wait to get back out there again.
Go after Woodlock Pines and try to shoot as good a score as we can to be respectable on that leaderboard somewhere for the Golficity Virtual Open. That's my next goal.
Love it.
So I can't wait to get on that leaderboard. I can't wait to see all of you on that leaderboard. So make sure you go to golficity.com/open for all the details on how to register and play. It is 100% free. I know you can definitely join right up until the kickoff date of July 15th. I'm not certain if you can still get in the door after July 15th. I know you have until August 15th to play your round. We don't handle all the administration on that. We've got the 18 Birdies app does some of the heavy lifting for us. So it's going to depend on whether that app will let you in there. So if you're listening to this after the 15th, give it a try. It might still let you in. If not, we're going to try to do this again next year. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope everybody enjoys it. We'll announce the prize winners after that's over. One last thing I want to say before we wrap it up. If you haven't already done so, if you could take a moment to leave us a quick review of the podcast on iTunes, it would mean the world to us. It's really the reviews are not only are they great feedback for us, we read the reviews, we get ideas of what is, what you guys enjoy, what you want to see more of, what you want to hear more of. But not only that, it really helps us grow the show. We get to bring on some new listeners, and that always leads to great things, great new relationships, great new opportunities. So we appreciate that. So if you haven't already done so, if you could take a moment, just quickly leave us a review on iTunes. We truly do appreciate it, each and every one of them. So, all right, guys, that's everything we have to talk about this week. You can get to the show notes by going to golficity.com/episode 279, or if you've got the free Golficity app for Android or iOS, which if you don't have it, you can go to golficity.com/app to download. You'll see this podcast and every podcast dating back to number 1. They're all there. All the notes are there. And when new podcasts go live, you get the notification on the app that a new podcast is out. So it's the best way to check it out. So make sure you guys check that app out, and we'll see everybody again next week.